Every single season, we have players that have been on a downward trajectory turn things around in a big way. Perfect examples from last year would be Andrew Wiggins and DeMar DeRozan. But we also have former players really start to slow down. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you guys like the content, smash the like and sub button and let's get into this. Let's start with a player that just might be saving his career right now, and that's Bol Bol. He went from being a top-ranked recruit all through high school, going viral week after week, to going to Oregon, where in just a few games he shot up the board to becoming a likely top 5, most places projecting him as a top 3 selection in the draft, and for good reason. In 9 games, the 7'2", super skilled big was averaging 21 points, 10 boards and 3 blocks, shooting 56% from the field and 52% from 3. Everything was looking up, but he ended up suffering an injury that would shut him down for the rest of the season. This was definitely concerning, but going into draft night, most still projected him as a late lottery to mid first round selection. But pick after pick went by in 2019, the first round came to a close, and still nothing. It wouldn't be until the 44th pick of the second round where the Denver Nuggets decided to take the chance. Now, given the scenario of the Nuggets trying to compete with guys like Jokic and Jamal Murray, there just wasn't a big role available for him. He played just 7 games as a rookie. In his second season, that went to 32 games, but he averaged just 5 minutes where he put up 2 points a game. His role would actually get even smaller in year 3, but now this season, a part of the Orlando Magic, things are looking up. I didn't expect a big role. They still have Wendell Carter. They were giving Mo Bamba 27 minutes a game last season. They drafted Banchero, but through 5 games, he's averaging 10 points, 6 boards, and 2.6 blocks, shooting 64% from the field and 40% from 3. This isn't just 17 minutes a game. For context, per 36 minutes, that would be 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 5.4 blocks. He legitimately looks impressive. He's aggressive offensively when he's out there, and opposing bigs seem to be caught off guard by his length, expecting to just bully his twig frame. Now, Jonathan Isaac will be returning at some point. It's hard to say what that will do to Bol's role, but at this point, I think he's proved worthy of more NBA opportunity, and I'm excited about it. Today's video is sponsored by PrizePicks. It's a sports pick'em site that makes watching the games just a little bit more fun. I know some of you have been playing along with me, as I saw on Twitter, but the entry in our last video absolutely smacked, and so far this season, we've been on a nice little run. Here are some entries that I've done. For today, I really like the board. JimmerRange is on fire to start the season, and I'm riding the hot hand, taking his points. Then I'm actually staying in that same game with the rest of my squares. I'm going with Keegan Murray more than 2.5 threes. He's hit the over in both of his 2 games, and I don't see that stopping. I'm adding in some correlation with Domantas Sabonis assists, and lastly, De'Aaron Fox rebounds, which he's gotten every game. If all this happens, 20 bucks wins 200. Let me know if you end up playing with me on Twitter, and I've actually got a pretty awesome promo for you guys. If you sign up with the link in the description and use code JIMMER, they're going to give you a deposit match up to $100. Thank you, PrizePicks, for sponsoring today's video. Now, players falling off is a sore subject. People get really upset facing the reality that you can list off every player in the league 35 years or older in less than a minute. I also want to make it clear that it's the start of the season. I just want to point out some players that could be falling off, so don't freak out. We're going to start it off hot with Chris Paul. Now, I know there's already people rushing to the comments. I just watched him on TNT beat the Warriors. He had 16 points, 9 assists, and 7 boards. Yes, Chris Paul is still a good player, but I think we're in for some significant regression this season. The 6-foot point guard, if you count Udonis Haslem, is tied for the second oldest player in the league. He already gave us a scare in his final year at Houston, where he went from his usual 19-point-a-game self to less than 16, shooting 42% from the field. He then had a huge bounce back with the Thunder in 2020, and has been great so far with the Suns, but nonetheless, we have seen his scoring volume decrease year after year. He put up nearly 18 a game in OKC, 16 a game in his first year in Phoenix, less than 15 last year, shooting just 32% from 3. Now this season, he's averaging less than 10 points a game, still 10 assists, which is great, but he's shooting 37% from the field and 31% from 3. That's including that great game he had just the other day. Now, his efficiency from the field will obviously improve. He's going to average more than 10 points a game, but I think this season will be the start of a pretty significant downward trajectory, which has to be a little concerning given both the Suns' championship hopes and the fact that he still has 2 years left on his deal, paying him over $30 million. But getting back to a more positive note, we've got Cam Reddish. Like Bol Bol, Reddish was one of the top high school recruits in that 2018 recruiting class, and outside of RJ Barrett, looked like the most clear of day, top 3 selection heading into his freshman season at Duke. He was 6'8", a great athlete, and truly appeared to have a complete offensive game. But concerns started to creep up rather quickly. RJ Barrett and Zion dominated, while Reddish struggled to keep up as that number 3 guy. He averaged 14 points a game, shooting less than 36% from the field. Production that ordinarily wouldn't have been close to enough to get drafted, but on the back of his preseason expectations and the hope of what he still could be, the Hawks drafted him with the 10th overall pick in 2019. Once getting to the league, it was much of the same. He would have blow-up games that gave us a little too much hope, but then he would revert back to his inefficient self. As a rookie, he averaged 11 points, shooting 38% from the field. It somehow got significantly worse to start the following season, but he would miss most of the year due to injury. Then last year, he was traded in the middle of the season to New York, where in 15 games, he averaged just 6 points. It wasn't looking good. All signs pointed to this season being possibly one of his last opportunities, but we didn't even know what his role would be. But to start the season, he's getting 22 minutes a game. He's averaging 10 points, shooting 53% from the field and 46% from 3. Now, to be fair, this is heavily weighted by his 22 points to open the season, but nonetheless, it's been a good start. I'm still a believer, and I really think confidence could be a big factor here. It's almost felt like he's been in a downward spiral, so hopefully this can get him out and he can finally start to reach that potential everyone was raving about just a couple years ago. So far this season, it's really felt like the downfall of the old guards. We mentioned Chris Paul, but that's just where the list starts. People forget due to how late his career really got going, but Kyle Lowry is 36 years old. I think at this point, it's safe to say he's not close to the same player we came to know in Toronto. Last season, we saw a huge jump down in his volume, going from 17 points to just 13 points a game. But what was really concerning was his playoff performance, where he averaged less than 8 points, shooting 29% from the field and 24% from 3. Now to start this season, it's been up and down, mostly down, as he's averaging 12 points a game, shooting just 34% from the field. And that includes last night's performance, where he put up 17 points on 5 for 7 from the field. Again, like Chris Paul, given his age, he's still a solid player, but for one, that could change rather quickly, and that's not exactly what the Heat were looking for when they gave him $100 million a year ago. Then you've got Mike Conley. At 35 years old, he hasn't looked great so far. The Jazz have been a pretty big surprise to start the season, but Conley's averaged just 10 points, shooting 33% from the field and 30% from 3. He's only shot about 50% from the field once so far, and that was a game where he had 7 points, went 0 for 3 from 3, and 1 for 3 from the free throw line. I mentioned Conley after the first game of the season as an interesting trade target for teams like the Pelicans and Mavericks, but now, with what I think we can expect from him the rest of the year, I'm not nearly as excited. Then there's Russell Westbrook, but I don't really think I need to explain that one. It's bad. There's Derrick Rose, who has saved his career a couple times, but while he's still playing solid to open the season, it does look like he's in for the smallest role to date, averaging just 12 minutes a game. Getting away from the point guards, there's Kevin Love, which we've seen coming for a while now. I still think he's a solid rotation piece given his rebounding and floor spacing, but I think the fall off has been cemented this year. He's averaging less than 20 minutes for the first time in his career, putting up 8 points, shooting 39% from the field. Another aging Utah player is Rudy Gay, who's now 36 years old and giving us less than 6 points, shooting 39% from the field. Now, it's been 5 years since he was a super notable player, but this is another significant downward jump for a guy that I thought would be a much more interesting trade piece a week ago. This is getting a little too sad. A guy for the Jazz that has really exploded into becoming one of the most interesting trade targets is Jordan Clarkson. Now, saving his career kind of seems like a weird phrase to associate him with, as he just won 6th Man of the Year just over a season ago, but he's coming off a pretty disappointing year where he averaged 16 points on less than 42-32 splits. The instant offense, 6th Man of the Year guys are typically held to a slightly different efficiency standard, but it was still disappointing. This season, now in the starting lineup, with the biggest role of his career, he's looked amazing. He's averaging 19 points and 5 assists, shooting 43% from the field on over 8 attempts a game. I'm sure teams are already calling. Hopefully, he's moved to a contender at some point. Then there's Dennis Smith Jr., a prospect that most people were super excited about going into that 2017 draft, mainly just due to how fun and explosive his game was. He ended up going 9th overall to the Mavericks, but got off to a really slow start, failing to eclipse 40% from the field as a rookie. The following season, he was sent to the Knicks in the Porzingis trade, and for the most part since, he's been bouncing around the league, playing for teams like Portland and Detroit. He had some okay stretches, but for the most part, it hasn't looked great, and his opportunities were running out. But now this season, things are looking up. As a part of the Hornets, he walked into a much bigger role than expected due to the injury of LaMelo Ball. He's averaging 29 minutes, where he's putting up 14 points and 6 assists, shooting 52% from the field and 50% from 3. Now, obviously, this role won't remain for the rest of the season, but it's been a great start for a player that really needed it for his career. But that's the end of you guys. You guys tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash the like and sub button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.